This is Marshall with Your Own World USA, yowusa.com, and we're back on with Amber Williamson. Amber, welcome back to yowusa.com.
Hi, Marshall. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. And going into the holidays, we're going to end with a bang. Yeah, we're going to have fun with this one. And what I really appreciate, Amber, is that you have been very diligent in doing analysis and capturing video so that we can better understand how cell phone or smartphone cameras are working with these Planet X observation videos. I've been working on this with Dwayne Brayton, lead researcher with yowusa.com, on this particular matter. And we have just really had quite a crash course in smartphone camera technology and why things are going the way they're going. And for us, this is going to be interesting in this video because we have finally connected the dots. And that is thanks to your efforts. You've been out there and really getting this stuff for us. So with that, let's begin. We're going to review your videos. And for my viewers out there, I've already done the field of view with Starry Night and the gamma analysis, and everything checks out. You're welcome to do that on your own. Now, the first one we have, I believe, is from November 28th of this year from your sister's home in Kentucky, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, then let's play that for the viewers as you tell them what's going on. And tell us about this, Amber.
This is my sister's backyard. It is probably close to 6 p.m., probably more like 5:30-ish.
Right.
And I thought this was a pretty good shot. I could see that second object behind the tree line there.
And where in Kentucky is this?
Paintsville.
What I find interesting is the branches in the tree line and how they are passing over the object of interest and how it's changing. It's not a steady state thing, but rather we've seen it move. So tell me, are you seeing any subtle differences between the observation videos you're making in Kentucky from your sister's home and from your own home in West Virginia?
Not so much. It's pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm.
Here,
okay.
there.
And then there's just that consistent, nice, fluid, natural movement. Excellent. And we've had several conversations about what Dwayne Brayton and I have been analyzing for the last few months with regards to smartphone variables. And smartphones are not designed for what you're doing. They're designed for selfies and ease of use. Okay. Yeah, this is like trying to frame a house with a tack hammer. Yeah, theoretically, you can do it. Getting it done, well, that can be a different thing altogether. And two of the things that were of interest for us were both motion studies and exposure as part of what we were doing. And so you jumped in with that on December the 1st. Before we look at those videos, set up the conversation for the viewers. What you were looking forward to do that day.
Well, I was hoping to get a good video of the sun going down behind the tree line. And I was hoping to be able to catch the sun actually behind the trees and to catch, how do I say, the differences.
Mhm.
When I was, for example, if I was walking across the porch, um, if the trees in front of that second object would change, or any differences that I could see.
Right. Well, you did 3 videos that day, so it was a good day for shooting video. And the first 2 are really excellent motion study videos. So I'm going to cue those up and then have you narrate them for the audience. Now, Amber, I'm showing these 2 videos together, even though the one on the left you shot first and the one to the right you shot after that. But I think it's really interesting with what's happening in the trees. Talk to my viewers about this.
Well, I was trying to catch the sun, or the second sun, as it descended behind the trees, different angles, so that I could catch different perspectives.
So you shot these, what, from 2 different places on the porch or the same place?
2 different places on the porch.
Okay. How far apart?
Maybe 6 feet.
That's not a big difference, but it's, I find time here has more of a factor than the 6 feet of difference, although I really appreciate you doing that. Well, Amber, those first 2 videos are really stellar. I really like that motion. But it was the third one you shot that day that was immensely valuable to Dwayne Braden and myself in terms of our ongoing study of smartphone variables. So before we show the video, briefly tell the viewer, what were you setting out to do when you shot that video?
Well, I was going to turn on the auto exposure, autofocus function to try different um, types of exposures.
Mm-hmm.
And I also got out the old trusty eclipse glasses.
Oh, the trusty old, yes, old tricks are the best tricks, right? Well, with that, let's take a look at it. And here's that third video. And Amber, tell us what's going on.
Well, I'm just trying to zoom in, and in just a moment, you'll see me turn on the auto exposure, autofocus lock.
Mm-hmm.
The screen always darkens a little when I do that. There we go.
Right.
And of course, you can see the trees in front of that second object.
Mm-hmm.
Here I put on the
Glasses. Yep, I can see. And now we have tree branches in front of the sun, which we didn't have before. Well, Amber, that last thing you did with the eclipse glasses, which reduced the light levels with the lock on, showing the tree branches in front of the sun, dismissed one of the concerns that we had about lens flare, because you can see it, especially when the sun is just going down behind a ridge line. The light will pour over the ridge, and we were wondering if there was a possibility of something like that happening when you were catching all of these videos and the object of interest is being obscured by tree branches. But the fact that once you put on the eclipse shade or the glasses, then we could see the tree branches in front of the sun as well. So that provided us with a consistent look, if you will, between the sun and the object of interest and what happens when they pass behind natural objects like tree lines on the ridge from your house. after you shot these 3 videos, did you have something in mind to do next?
Well, you and I had both talked about doing a side-by-side video with um, someone with a different type of phone. Well,
Right.
I have any volunteers, so I I took my husband's phone and I thought I'll do a side-by-side with my husband's iPhone 7 and mine.
So you both have an iPhone 7.
Correct.
You know, did you guys buy your phones at the same time?
Yes.
Okay. So from the same store, in other words, quantity 2 when you ordered it.
Yeah.
Now that is really, really interesting. You're going to see why. Um, what I want to do is put up this side-by-side comparison and then have you talk the viewers through it. And Amber, here I have your husband's iPhone 7 on the left-hand side and your phone on the right-hand side. Were you literally holding the 2 phones in your hands?
I was.
And shooting at the same time with both of them? All right. Tell us about this.
Well, I was having a little bit of difficulty keeping, you can see, I'm having a little bit of difficulty keeping both objects on both screens at the same time. But as you can see in my video, it looks typical of what I've been videoing the last few months.
Right.
Phone, on the other hand, was a little bit different. The object, I believe, around 7 o'clock, maybe 8.
Right. After you finished shooting that side-by-side comparison and you reviewed your videos, what did you think?
Well, it threw me for a loop. I wasn't quite sure what to make of the second object in the 7, 8 o'clock position. The quality of the videos weren't that great. Hard for me to keep both objects on the screens of both phones at the same time, and so I did almost not send it to you, but I thought if anybody could figure that out, that 8 o'clock position out, it would be helpful.
Well, I sent the videos on to Dwayne, and the 2 of us looked at that, and of course, as researchers, the first question comes to mind is, okay, what's wrong with this picture? Or what's right with this picture? You don't know. But it sure does make you say, hey, it's time to go back to the beginning. Start at the beginning, work your way forward, go back through what you have found before, and then piece it together. And so I asked you about when you made your original eyewitness observations of the object of interest at 11 o'clock. And then I asked you to also prepare just a couple of hand-drawn sketches. And I'm certainly not an artist, so I'm not going to be critical, but if you would show those for my viewers and walk them through that.
Okay. I probably should have emailed these to you so you could, I don't know that the viewers can see it very well. Can you see this?
When did you see this?
This practically, well, a good portion of the summer. A good portion of the summer, I kept thinking that I could see something.
Right.
Most days working on the yard, and I kept thinking the sun just doesn't look quite right. It looked,
right.
Instead of perfectly circular, it looked like there was the bump.
Right.
Doing the videos, and I couldn't see anything clearly. And I even sent you 2 or 3, and I'm like,
I remember those, and it was like, and I kept saying, just keep doing it, keep doing it.
So
you did.
I kind of after I kept videoing and I couldn't see anything, and so then I believe it was late August, early September.
Right.
Called it quit for the day, and I had brought my dog out to walk her.
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably between 6:37 something ish, somewhere around that time frame. And of course, this is the equivalent of, you know, a preschooler drawing. But can you so the second object
Up and to the left a little.
left?
Wow. There's a lot of difference here. Tell us about this difference.
Well, there were two separate and distinct objects instead of what I kept thinking, you know, whereas previously been looking at the sun, it looks like there's a bump on the sun.
Right.
No bump anymore. There were two separate and distinct objects. And from that point on, that's when I started. Now, this was the only observation that I did my own two eyes.
Right.
Then it's been through a camera lens. But yeah, ever since this, that initial video, this initial sighting, there have been two separate objects. And that second object has always been in the 11 o'clock.
So just to review this quickly, back in around the August time frame, you saw a second object in the sky at around the sun's 11 o'clock, distinctly with your own two eyes.
Yes.
And every video you have shot with your iPhone 7 since then is consistent with what you saw with your own two eyes.
Correct.
All right. Well, once we had that, and particularly that third video that you did back on December the 1st, and Dwayne and I started working through it, and we started looking for trends, because the problem with smartphones is, like I said, they're designed for selfies. They're not designed to be solar telescopes and very sophisticated ones. So there's a lot of variables, the way the camera is made, the software, lenses, user settings, and so forth. And here is where Dwayne and I found our first clue that led us to this study I'm about to show you. And that was specifically with your husband's iPhone and your iPhone. We saw a real difference. And I want to go back and just briefly discuss that. So I'm going to bring those videos back up. All right. When we were looking at the two, what we saw with your iPhone is that it is less effective with UV filtering, but more effective with exposure control than your husband's iPhone. His iPhone is exactly the opposite. It has more effective UV filtering, whereas yours had less effective filtering, but it has less effective exposure control. And, the first question is does your husband's iPhone debunk your iPhone? Now, let me ask you, Amber, was that going through your mind? That maybe your husband's iPhone was debunking your iPhone?
Yeah. Or, I actually thought, okay, well, maybe all of this time was just a waste. Maybe, maybe none of this is what I thought it was. But then some of the things that I've seen are just so
kind of tough. But let me clue you in. First off, the studies that you've done have been immensely helpful in us in doing analysis. And I've published an article, or about to publish it, shortly. We've got all the graphics done. I'm just still working on the text of the article, but it's to be titled, "Do Videos of Planet X Objects Really Prove Anything?" So what I want to do is give you a sneak peek at the composite illustrations. Well, Amber, the first thing that comes to our minds is the same question. And in our composite, here you see your phone and your husband's phone, and we've taken frame captures. But the first thing we really wanted to do was determine motion, because for us, that's really critical to determining if we're looking at one camera has a lens flare, the other doesn't, or both have a lens flare, or neither have a lens flare. But we have to start with yours because we have the historical data. So here is the next composite. And as you can see in the composite, we went back to September 9th, the video you provided for us. And you can see that you captured the sun at approximately the 11:30 position, very close to straight up. However, 3 months later to the day in December, you're capturing it in this side-by-side comparison, and it's at the 11 o'clock position. Now, this is consistent with a natural object moving through the sky. That is a massive object. So let's get to the next one in the composite. And this is the critical question. Did your husband's iPhone debunk yours? Absolutely not. As you can see here, the difference in overexposure is tremendous. Your husband's iPhone is way overexposed as opposed to yours. And that overexposure literally masks the entire 11 o'clock area in his video, whereas your exposure is much better. And consequently, there's no way somebody can say that your husband's video debunks your video. So, what do you think of what I've shown you so far?
Well, it's nice to know that my husband hasn't debunked me. Once again, I am correct. I am right.
Okay. Well, now, when it comes to observations of Planet X, because this thing's showing up all over the place. It reminds me of Dr. Pepper, 10, 2, and 4, like on the side of the soda bottle. And we keep seeing it. And so for us, when we looked at what happened with your phone and your husband's phone, all of a sudden, and said, let's say both phones have made equally legitimate captures. Your phone captured an object, and your husband's phone captured a different object.
Wow.
But both are equally valid. How could we begin to corroborate such a hypothesis, right?
Yeah.
Are you curious?
Very curious.
Well then, like they say on television, Amber Williamson, step on down. Let's take a look at this next frame in our analysis. On the 16th of November, Hurricane Ophelia passed through the British Isles. I call it Ophelia Day. Now, here is your husband's iPhone 7 to the right-hand side of the screen. And on the left-hand side of the screen is a video that was shot by Rod of Iron and posted on YouTube, and his account has been since terminated. But what's interesting is that your husband's iPhone captured an object in the same relative position of the sky as was seen over London by countless eyewitness observers. Now, what do you think about that?
Wow.
Cool stuff, huh?
We need to get like a bunch of iPhones here in my yard. And
Well, that could be it. Now, here's something else. Your husband's iPhone is capturing image in a place where somebody has posted a video on YouTube and their account has since been terminated. So debunkers would go, well, coinkydink, coinkydink, coinkydink. But what happens if a mainstream media outlet is publishing those images and those videos? Let me show you what we got next from the Sun in the UK. Here's the kicker. Your husband's iPhone was not only corroborated by Rod of Iron as capturing in the 16th of November, but in the Sun, there was another image showing the same relative location of the object to the Sun and the horizon in the Sun newspaper in the UK. So now you have not one, but two different sources from the UK corroborating what you shot with your husband's iPhone just on the 9th. What do you think about that?
wow. Maybe we're going to have to get a third iPhone, see if we can pick something else up out there.
You know, it's absolutely interesting. You should say that because I haven't shown you the last two slides in our analysis series. And so you're just instinctively going, there's got to be a third phone. There's got to be a third phone, right? Okay. Well, you know what they say on TV, but wait, there's more. Right? Well, check this out. Like I said, the Sun published a lot of images and video, and here's another one. And what do you know? Now, Amber, where's the object of interest here?
It looks like around 1 p.m.
There you go. So, we've got this Dr. Pepper effect going, as I call it, 10, 2, and 4. We've got corroboration for your video because through your own eyewitness observations at the 11 o'clock position, your husband's at the 7 o'clock position, but now here we have a third position. And who said maybe we need a third iPhone?
Me.
Yes. And guess what? There you go. Another video that I posted from Lana in Tucson, Arizona. She's been inspired by your work, by the way. And she has been tracking her object of interest at approximately the 1 o'clock position. And here to the left, you see October the 26th and October the 21st. But when we look to the right-hand side, here is that image that was published in the Sun on 16th of November, showing an object of interest at the same relative position to the Sun and the horizon.
Wow.
Well, that means we're 3 for 3 here, aren't we? And how does this make you feel?
Well, in some ways it makes me think, wow, what else is there that we're not seeing? And, how close is this system to ours?
Right. Right. And, what was interesting, what I report in my article, do videos of Planet X objects really prove anything? Is something actually when I posted the original article on what I call Ophelia Day. Now, when I saw that event happen, I knew that was a game changer event. That was a watershed moment. A lot of other people, like Star Wars, Tatooine, and they're all kind of nonsense and trivializing and dismissing. But one of the things that really caught my attention when we did the research on that was the explanation by a BBC weatherman who said that all of these objects that countless Londoners saw were created by dust from the Azores where the hurricane had formed, Hurricane Ophelia. Well, independent sources reported Ophelia did not form in the Azores. It was in the mid-Atlantic basin in a cold front. So the BBC lied through their teeth, but they do that so well. And, it's not the first time you catch BBC in a lie. And this is a case where the debunker really has to, if they can't find a modicum of science to try and create doubt, invent something. And that's exactly what they did. And it was the fact that the BBC weathermen told an outright lie that kept me looking at the Ophelia Day images. But it wasn't until you sent your side-by-side comparison, and it was not until I saw your phone and your husband's phone that the dominoes fell. And that's an interesting thing about research. Sometimes you just hit a speed bump and you go, oh boy. But if you go back to the beginning, you work your way forward and you review your data, all of a sudden you find something you didn't see before. And I think that's pretty interesting. So we're closing out 2017. You're a very persistent person. God bless you for that. What do you have in mind for 2018 with your ongoing observations?
I want to do some more time lapses. I'd like to get a longer time lapse. The sun, second sun, above the tree line, and all the way. Other than that, I'm not quite sure, but I would like to do more time lapses. Maybe some time lapses of chemtrails.
Ooh, that would be great, especially if you can get them turning on and turning off and turning on and turning off. Yeah. I don't know about your area, but we're just getting hammered with them since Thanksgiving down here.
The weather's just been too bad to think for the last couple of weeks or so.
Yeah, we'll have to wait for it to clear, but we'll stay with it. But the point now is that, in the article, I'm saying, do videos of Planet X objects really prove anything? And what they prove are patterns and trends. You can debate granular issues. We talk about variables, and oh my gosh, when you read the article, there's so many variables about it. So you'll want to follow up and see that on the site when it's done. But in the meantime, as always, Amber, stellar work. Stellar work. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And have a wonderful holiday season, and we'll catch you in 2018.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.